and proceeding for our second roundtable discussion titled Overcoming Supply Chain Volatility, Unlocking Demand-Led Growth. This discussion focuses on the engine of the food economy, processors, corporate buyers, and FMCG brands. However, this engine often experiences a lot of disruptions due to unpredictable demand, fluctuating supply, and limited real-time visibility. In this session, our panelists will explore how collaborative network, digital traceability, and data intelligence can actually convert volatility into value, enabling a more competitive and future-ready supply chain. Please join me in welcoming our panelist and a moderator, inviting onto the stage Dilip Mohanty, Senior Vice President, Reliance Retail. With more than 3 decades of leadership in agri-commodities, he oversees one of India's largest procurement operations, spanning production, imports, exports, and supply chain efficiencies. His experience across Amul, Venky's, Ruchi Soya, Adani Exports, Noble Grain, and Glencore makes him one of the strongest voices in shaping India's modern agri-supply chain. Welcoming Dilip Mohanty, Executive Senior Vice President, Reliance Retail. Now we are welcoming Srinivas Swain, Senior Vice President, Fresh Category Zepto. Srini leads fresh procurement, category strategy, and supply chain for Zepto nationally. His experience across modern trade and quick commerce gives him deep insight into perishables, fulfillment, precision, and vendor ecosystem in high-velocity supply chains. Can we have a huge round of applause, everyone? Now inviting Rivasa A. Nischal, Independent Consultant, Gender and FMCG Distribution Channels. Rivasa brings over 15 years of experience in supporting startups, developing research-based programs, focusing on climate change, technology-led development, and financial access to the table. With a decade spent at Tata Trust, where she was a part of the strategic team that spearheaded innovative ideas and initiatives, Rivasa has experience and expertise for developing market-based programs that employ multidisciplinary approaches to achieve developmental goals. Can we have a huge round of applause, everyone out here? Now inviting Manish Gangopadhyay, CEO of Innovantes R&D Services LLP. Manish is an R&D leader with over 27 years of global experience in personal care, color cosmetics, and home care innovations. Currently CEO of Innovantes R&D Services LLP. He previously held senior roles at Unilever, leading multinational teams and delivering end-to-end innovations across beauty and home care categories. An alumnus of IISc Bangalore and University of Calcutta, he specializes in strategic R&D consulting, product design, sustainability roadmaps, and technology scale-up, with strong focus on authentic leadership and consumer-centric innovation. Can we have a huge round of applause? Now inviting Ashok Bhagat, co-founder Desik. Ashok is the co-founder of Desik, a fast-growing FMCG startup committed to delivering natural, additive-free essentials to Indian households. A graduate of IRM Jaipur, he combines grassroots insights with entrepreneurial vision. He has worked with 4 startups, building each from the ground up. Before co-founding Desik into a trusted partner for dry fruits, exotic spices, fruits, and healthy products. Under his leadership, Desik has established strategic partnerships with several national and international players while scaling across categories with a strong emphasis on quality, consumer trust. And our moderator for this roundtable is Dr. Prithvi Singh, co-founder Khetika. Can we have a huge round of applause? Dr. Prithvi Singh is the co-founder of Khetika, a clean label food brand built on the belief that honest, minimally processed food should be the norm. A veterinarian by training and an alumnus of IIM Ahmedabad, he blends scientific rigor with strong management insights. Since launching in 2017, he has helped scale Khetika into a 247 crore clean food company by prioritizing purity, transparency, traceability across every Indian staples. His work reflects a deep commitment to rebuilding consumer trust in food through responsible sourcing and clarity across the supply chain. Now, before we begin with the panel discussion, I would like to request Mr. Dilip Mohanty to deliver his presentation, and then the stage will be handed by the moderator for the panel discussion.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Namaskar. I think agriculture is the backbone of Indian economy. It's not a question of production and consumption anymore. It is completely data-driven, supply chain efficiency, and insight-driven. What is this? Okay, thank you. So, before we move into our discussion, I thought I'll give a small glimpse of what's happening in the commodity field at the moment. Indian staple basket about excess of 250 billions. The biggest components cereals, that is rice, wheat, jowar, bajra, all our daily food items, that is about 60%. Then come edible oil, 11%, pulses, 10%. These edible oil and pulses were completely import dependent. We import 65% pulses into India, 20% of pulses and 65% edible oil. Then sugar, spices, so on and so forth. If you look at the first three items, rice, wheat, and sugar, these are the big items. India is self-sufficient. India doesn't need any import from anywhere. Rather, India has been importing quite a lot to many countries. When you come to last four, spices, oil, pulses, and dry fruits, India is import dependent. And two essential commodities which India is completely dependent, edible oil. India is importing 65% of our edible requirement, what we consume, that comes from abroad, and 20% of pulses. I thought I'll just give an idea exactly how the import happens, how the pulses is one thing, it's always in the news. Our consumption requirement is about 32 million tons. India produces about 25 billion tons of pulses. Rest 6.5 million tons gets imported. So this is the list of items that is getting imported into India. It's yellow peas that's come from Canada and Russia. Channa comes from Australia and Africa. Then you have got tuor, then urad, then masoor. And these are what we have been producing. Yellow peas and channa from Canada, Russia, this was banned in India for last 13 years. In 2022, there was a bad monsoon, bad crop, so prices started moving up. So government had no other option except to allow import of yellow peas and channa. That is, a lot of yellow peas have come and dumped in India. That is why the situation is so bad. In case of edible oil, if you see, our domestic production is 9 million tons. Consumption requirement is 25 million tons. We are importing palm 9 million tons. 100% palm in India is imported. Soybean oil 65% is imported. Sunflower 90%. Whatever wheat is all getting imported. As far as sugar is concerned, we are self-sufficient. We export quite a lot. Exactly as a corporate house, we handle such a big procurement output supply chain. How exactly we manage? I thought I'll give an idea. All put together, I handle about 1.5. My team handles about 1.5 million tons of all pulses and grains put together. So how do there are two seasons for Kharif season, there's Rabi season. How do it? For each of the crop, we see what is the carryover stuff from the last year, what we are carrying over. What is the production during the year? Whether some import is going to come. There is possibility of some exports, plus is it a essential commodity, government is taking sub-stock. All that we take into consideration for all the crops before buying. If that equation is more than consumption, then we say market will remain stable or market could remain bearish. In case is the reverse, is, consumption is much higher as compared to what we have seen on the other side, then we say it's a bull market, then we take a position accordingly. I'll give a small example to how it happened in last year. India's production was 42 lakh tons. We imported about 11 lakh tons from Africa and Burma. put together total availability of 54 lakh tons. Our consumption, normal circumstances, 40 to 42 lakh tons. But this time prices have gone unreasonably low. That is why I'm pegging at 44 lakhs. So still we have a 10 lakhs of excess stock in India. That is why the tuar prices have crashed. Last year, at this point of time, we were buying tuar dal 160 rupees. Today, I'm buying at 98 rupees from the origins. This is what a glut, whenever glut comes, this is what happens in commodities. Because of so much of yellow peas and chana that is getting imported in India and government want to rein in the inflation, this is what has happened. जो मटर सफ़ेद मटर हम लोग खाते हैं इन इंडिया यूपी और एमपी एरिया में होता है दैट इज़ अबाउट 8 लाख टन्स दैट इज़ नॉर्मली आवर कंजम्पशन रिक्वायरमेंट इन लास्ट 2 years 50 lakh tons more than 50 lakh tons of mटर has come to India. So after meeting the mटर requirement, I think it has taken the share of chana, tuar, urad. So all the commodities price have dropped drastically in last 2 years. If you see, tuar prices have gone down at 20 rupees, chana, urad gone down almost 15 rupees. So farmers are losing heavily. So there's a lot of this thing. Request from the agitation is happening for the government to increase the import duty on chana in India. So we'll see, government might increase the import duty of chana and masoor soon. I think this is not very important how we buy in a big corporate. I mean, for everything we go for averaging. I think I'll just keep this one. Private label, I mean, all we are retailers, all of us talk about private label. What is the difference between a private label or a brand? There's absolutely no difference between a private label brand except for brand has to take a margin and brand has to advertise. This is the difference between what a private label and brand is. That is why all we retailers, we completely depend on private label that gives a 4 to 6% additional margin. So we say PL margins are on the higher side, it's win-win for the retailer as well as consumer. Plus through our retailers, we put all the pressure on the brands to reduce their prices. Just I thought I'll say how much is branding is happening in India at the moment. If you look at edible oil, the retail brand is 55%. That's the consumer packs. If you look at the wholesale brand, that is about 25%. All put together is 80%. Salt branded is 73%. Atta is about 70%. Then we come to rice and pulses, 63 and 43 respectively. So what is the difference? Pahla teen and baki do mein. If you look at the first three, edible oil, salt and atta, this goes to our karai without any cleaning and washing. So whenever a consumer takes this, he doesn't want to take any chances with his health or help us his family. That is why all people are buying so much of brand. बस दाल चावल हम लग में हम इसको क्या करते हैं धो के खाते हैं. So ज़्यादा फर्क नहीं पड़ता है. That is a branding is so less in case of rice and pulses. So these are the factors that affects the commodity prices. I thought I'll share. And what is the role of the government? Indian government is a welfare government. These are all essential commodities. Government has complete monitoring and control on all the prices, availability, imports, export, duty fixation, everything. So whenever the prices are going up, government has to reduce the price, they reduce the duty on the commodities. They import a stock limit, इतना नहीं रख पाएंगे, so that आपको अपना stock से माल निकालना पड़ेगा. You have to release the stock to government sources, government release the additional quota. And when the price goes down, government does the reverse. They will increase the duty, they will buy more at MSP, they'll stop releasing the quota and they stop giving additional quota for imports. So that is what I thought quickly I'll say. Then over to you, Prithvi.
Hello. So, thank you, sir. This was very interesting insight and very data-backed approach to show how India's staple sector today is, and no better player than hearing from Reliance. So I would start today. If you see, there is the topic which is given is supply chain, overcoming supply chain volatility, driving demand-led growth. So if you see here, the biggest thing is demand is something which is, demand is a king, customer is king. And that's where is lot of uncertainties, newness is coming in the entire picture. For example, if you take, there are massive change coming in consumer awareness today. Consumers are changing their preferences. Consumer is For example, there are many mega trends going on. One is, say, health is very mega trend, you know. So consumer is saying now, I want healthy product, which means it will create the categories. It will change the shape of categories and products which is today. Or, for example, convenience is a very big mega trend. So then you will have newer channels, quick commerce, these are emerging. And they are completely changing the landscape of demand, which was, we are overseeing it. And if we see, so our product like Khetika, which is a clean label food brand, itself witnessing these changes, and that's what we are riding on these trends. So one side we see huge consumption boom India as country, because economy is also, getting more strong. People have more per capita to spend upon it. So it means there is a huge consumption boom. There is consumption, quality is also changing and quantity is also changing. At the same time, the supply chain complexities are also increasing. For example, if you have, like in the quick commerce dark store, if you have one truck not reaching to that, then your entire, that opportunity has gone. And in addition to that, then you can, customer is also, getting agitated. So so a lot of uncertainties can come. There can be one reel of one brand which can go viral, and suddenly you see huge demand spike coming in the D2C, or, a lot of things. So there is a huge consumption boom, but then there is a supply chain volatilities are also going up. And on top of it, nowadays, supply chain has to be more efficient and just in time. So it means there is big challenge. So how do we keep supply chain stable when demand is unstable? How do we ensure our supply chain are responsive when demand is so volatile? And that is the topic on which we will discuss today broadly. And we have a great panel with us today, ranging experience in a retail, in a brand, in R&D, in multiple fields. So I would start the discussion first starting with you, Dilip sir, that at the scale of Reliance which you are handling today, how do you ensure that your supply chain is taking care of these regional variabilities and these supply chain volatilities?
No doubt, I think our quantities are quite huge. I take it into two seasons. One is a Kharif season and a Rabi season. Being such a huge retailer, we have to carry some buffer stock any point of time. So on an average, 25 to 28%, what I have seen last few years, we buy during harvesting time. I mean, if you take a two seasons, Kharif season first come, that time you get a soybean, rice, and some pulses, tuar, urad, mung. So in various locations, we have a habit of buying, but we will go very carefully. We want to ensure that for each of the items, because when handling 1.5 million tons of Putukan, Rabi, we buy a lot of spices. You got wheat, you got chana, you got kabuli, you masoor, everything all put together. At any point of time, we are holding about 2 to 3 lakh tons of. If market goes 3 to 4 rupees upside down, we play in crores. I mean, 100 crores, 150 crores, either you're plus or minus. So that is a bigger volatility for us compared to supply chain volatility, I would say. So we have I think we have a pause. Millions of people are coming to our stores every day. Every day we get a data exactly what they are buying, what quality is buying, what size they are buying. So based on that, it becomes very easy for us to understand exactly what is our requirement. And as far as in Reliance expansion plans is concerned, on year-on-year basis, we are growing around 15%. Plus, lot of new stores are getting added. That is giving another growth of 10%. Plus, GeoMart is going very fast at the moment. I think 3 months back, we are supplying 300,000, 3 lakh packets a day. Now we're doing 1.2 millions. And the way things are going, we'll do around 2.2 millions or more than 2 millions by the month of March. So we have a well-entrenched supply chain. Packing centers are all there. This has evolved over a period of time. Initially, we used to do packing operation close to the consumption center. Over a period of time, as volumes are going, we're going to all the origins. We're hand-holding the people. They are making good facilities for us. Quality systems are very well established. Problems do come once in a while, but supply chain Not that much. When you have a operation pan-India basis, suppose I'll give an example, Vadakulam rice that we procure from Gujarat, Maharashtra, as well for Andhra. That is consumed in western part of India, down south. In case one problem comes in one area, the things can go for other areas. So absolutely no issues. And at any point of time, all put together, we have got 300 millers they're supplying to us, 110 packing centers are there. Plus, as far as buffer stock is concerned, for big ticket items, it comes directly, absolutely no issue. Small tickets like you got spices, you got dry fruits, you got cereals, poha, sabuda, murmura. These are the items where you need millions of packets. That we used to carry about 15 to 20 to FG stock, maybe 7 to 8 days of raw material stock. Plus, whatever raw stock we have, that we keep at the origin. Slowly, for everything, we are going to the origin to reduce our expenses. That is how we manage.
So, like you mentioned that you keep huge buffer stocks, right? So it means the forecasting becomes very, very important because prices if goes down, then this is like a hit. So my question is to Srinivas, I'm coming to you. Uh, is the traditional forecasting models still working? Because it becomes a critical that how much you should keep, and particularly when Jepto, like, you have a quick commerce where every forecasting is important, or is there new AI based models, or is there new models backed by technologies are emerging and which is to do better forecasting?
Yeah, so first of all, I would like to thank Ayekart for inviting me, and congratulations for their new platform launching. And second thing, I mean, this is very valid questions nowadays. I mean, before that also I need to give some kind of snapshots about Zepto that will help all of us to understand much more better. Zepto, I think we started 4 years back. I don't need to tell much about Zepto. It's a, 10 minutes delivery synonyms has become Zepto. So currently we are delivering almost 2 million orders on a day-to-day basis. On a weekend it goes more than that, right? And coming back to your questions, how we are getting into the forecast model, right? So when we started 4 years back, I think that time it was just a time series analysis what we used to do, right? Then along with the journey, then we moved to the ARIMA model. And currently we're doing a lot of AI-based and ML-based model. So when we started that time, I think it was 2,500, 3,000 SKUs, not more than that. And right now, I think we are into multiple categories, all across, and selling more than 50,000 SKUs in the platform, spreading across more than 67 cities. And also there are 1,100 dark stores are there, right? So if you'll calculate all together in a line items, it's millions of data points are there, right? And also you need to check which item needs to be there in which of the stores, right? So there are different correlations are there, and a lot of standard deviations will be also there in the forecasting model, right? So which product, which category needs to be focused on, that also a lot of inputs comes to from different other stakeholders, right? And specifically if you'll see the fruits and vegetable, which I am taking care of, that is very much complex, right? So internal, we have a lot of data in with us, but still I feel external data plays also a lot of role into that, right? Be it external climatic conditions, be it raining somewhere, or any kind of seasonal impacts, any kind of external features, like kahin pe strike ho gaya, kahin pe kuch hua, all those stuff that impacts a lot, right? Still, putting all together datas, information and collecting all those transformation into datas, then putting a trigger for the forecasting. And once you are doing a forecasting, the error of margin needs to be, less than 4% or 5%, right? So, I mean, most of the quick commerce, they depend more on the 4 things. I think speed, that is the convenience part, right? That matters, 10 minutes delivery, what we are promising. Apart from that, also people are also expecting, yeah, speed to theek hai, quality needs to be there, right? Quality to theek hai, price also needs to be there. Okay, price bhi theek hai, but maal मतलब सब कुछ मिलता नहीं है. That means you need to have all the assortments as well, whether it's fast moving, slow moving, non moving, whatever. So you need to have a rationalization process. So gathering all these datas and getting into a forecasting model, and again I'm coming back to the fruits and vegetable, which is very complex. We are procuring right now any D-1 model, that is 24 hours. So if anything we need tomorrow, the Indian goes today itself at 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. And the material started coming from different sources. I mean, different which is very much, relevant over here. Like, we have more than 9,200 collection centers all across the country. And also more than 1,000 vendor partners are there, right? So all these forecast or all those indents goes to them on a real-time basis. And they started doing all the procurements, then all the supply chain, and each of the legs of the supply chain, that also plays a bigger role. So I think forecasting, we have started using ML a lot. Last 4 years, data points are there. And also a lot of customer cohorts, what we are getting into. So what are the active users, what are the lapsed users, all those user-centric data points what used to collect. Then we are getting into the forecasting model.
Yeah, so
that gives us a lot of opportunity in terms of the availability. So if you see and go to the Zepto app, you will find almost morning 6 a.m. till night 2 a.m. The availability of stock is more than 92%. So once you make it available, then everything will fall in place. Yeah.
So I think this is like a most complex category which you mentioned. Means if you procure more, then the dump goes high. If you don't procure, then demand goes away and customer is not satisfied. And then, like you mentioned, your margin is error can only be, say, it's a 4%. So I would say it's a wonderful job, right, in this complex category. But coming to you, Revasa, on this, that because, like Srinivas mentioned, that there is lot of complexity in the category, and hence he had to manage in a less margin error also at the same time. But what do you think are the most important reasons for supply chain volatilities? Are they logistic related? Are they procurement related? Are they season related? What are those important reasons for that? Why the volatility is so high? What do you think in India, inherent volatility is high in Indian supply chain?
Thank you, Prithvi, for the question, and thank you, Ayekart team, for giving me an opportunity to answer this. I'll go to the more difficult markets, which is your rural areas and your rural markets. So answering this from the last mile distribution and from the rural commerce perspective, your usual culprits are basically the whole unpredictable and non-calendarized events that really shape the demand and the procurement line at the rural areas. Whereas, seasonality, festivals, all this can be still counted in. The latest monster in this group is climatic shocks. All the climate-related shocks that agrarian communities and the communities which are, downwards of anywhere from peri-urban are handling, which is literally 60% of your market. The kind of shocks they are handling, it's very difficult to account for that unless you have a line of communication down to the consumer level. It's very different ballgame the moment you enter from district and down to understand what is affecting their demands and what is affecting their ability to consume. The second biggest, we all know that the second biggest is the is the supply chain in rural areas, the simple logistics of it. Which NH is working, which truck is available, which community is flaring up into a communal riot. All these factors go into creating very challenging ecosystem factors for absorbing products and absorbing markets at anywhere which is peri-urban and below. The latest devil in this game is digital media, which gives us a feeling that, we are reaching the consumer. But see, the point is generating demand and translating it into consumption. There is a very important factor, which is the trust. Are we able to translate the consumer trust? People in rural areas are able to see your product, they're able to see your brand, they're able to see your, whatever the brand communication you might be throwing at them. But so are the other 10 other brands. So what is it that inspires or that pushes them to make a purchase between a A and a B and a C? Is a big black box. I think I've made it more difficult than it is, but
I think
just like concluding this, see, the problem is that until unless the bigger brands have an understanding of what are the factors that are playing district level and below. Most of the SKUs are till the district level and up. But the moment you are going into district level and below, the problems are cascading because you do not have a visibility. Your models need to be authenticated and validated by voices of the consumers, where at the cost of, really talking about the companies that I have consulted with, your last mile organizations come into play. There is a reason why the communities that they are working with, the earlier session also mentioned about various farmers producer organization, various organizations which have their ear to the ground. There is a reason why you need them to validate all the data and all the AIs of the world to actually know how the rural areas are pulsating.
Yeah, so Rivasa, very interesting points which you made, that one is there is a data which itself is not so robust. And second is there are unexpected devils coming in like climate. And on top of it, rural India is like very far kind of thing from the place where we are sitting. So coming to you, Manish, on this, from your perspective, what are the 2-3 important systematic gaps which you see in Indian supply chain, which is actually stopping to become Indian supply chain a truly demand-led and driving the growth from there on?
Right. Thanks for giving us the opportunity to be here. I think the first most important is having the visibility and the digitalization of the entire supply chain, and that's where I think I have to congratulate Ayekart, and Antriva will play a big role there. Before I go to the specifics of your response to your question, I think one of the key challenges really, like what is the method in the madness for the demand? And that has to come from the deep consumer understanding. Like, we live in very uncertain time now. For a demand or a lack of demand for a product can be influenced by something happening in US. The information of the trend travel real time. The influencers who probably doesn't really have the lot of knowledge, but they can influence the demand for this kind of thing, right? So I think one is consumer centricity, and having very close consumer understanding will play a fundamental role in our ability to meet the demand, cater to the demand. Coming to the supply chain or some of the enablers for the companies, one, I think specifically for, say, agri, the food preservation, right? Food preservation or processing capabilities, capabilities for upcycling, capabilities to measure the quality of the product in the entire supply chain so that you can decide where to deliver that product to meet what demand. That will play a critical role. Second, I think in the supply chain, like traditionally supply chain, we have looked for scale because that's where you get the economics right, you get the unit economic for the brand. But now we require a lot more flexibility and resilience and the modularities in the supply chain. Currently, as we speak for different brands, maybe more for, say, the cosmetic or that kind of brand, there are concept of nano manufacturing units. Like you may have a 5-ton or 10-ton mixer to produce your material, but you will also have in parallel 250 kg or even 100 kg so that you can also cater to the emerging trends before they become very large. So I think one is technological intervention. Second, really lot more flexibility in manufacturing, processing. This will be the critical to deliver to the need or be a demand-led supply chain.
No, so I completely agree with you, Manish. And actually in Khetika, I resonate what you are saying. So we have one category which is better, which is fresh category. And we have gone for nano plant model, Only reason is because we are preservative-free, clean food, and we had to be close to the customer. And I think that is I can resonate with you, and this is where it is. And what you are rightly saying that we need to understand more about consumers, right? So coming to you, Ashok, I would just want to understand what are the data blind spot which you think today exist in Indian supply chain, which is actually amplifying the volatility. There is huge volatility already, but we have, like everybody mentioned, our data is not that strong. What are those blind spots which you, with your experience, you can share?
Thanks, Prithvi sir, for asking. From the e-commerce and Q-commerce perspective, I will highlight the projection the accuracy is very low there. And first thing is that they are growing very fast. Every month they are growing at the speed of 10%, 20% growth they have. So for them also it's very difficult to project the, give us the forecast for next month, how much they are going to issue the purchase order. Since we are also supplying to, issue to the e-commerce, we can resonate. And second is their projection system, forecasting system, their algorithm is not so robust. Still, they need some backend data to get the accuracy level. At this time, we get the projection as low as 50% projections. It means if I'm getting a projection for, say, 50 tons for a single commodity, I may get purchase order for next month either 25 tons or 75, 80 tons. So this is the range I need to work. So it's impacting the inventory at my place, aging of the product, and blocking the working capital. So here, 2-3 factors impacting that projection. First is the bulk sales. See, what happens if any sales happens, there are 2-3 components are there. One is the normal sales, which we and normal customers buy for their household. Second is the bulk sales, which normally the retailers or the institutions, they are the opportunists buyer. They look for those platforms, and whenever they find there's a value in that, they buy for it. So while giving projections, I found that there's quick commerce or e-commerce players, that factors is missing. They should remove that bulk factors, which I observed during my working in these companies. Second is the pricing factors. See what happens, these commodity markets are very highly volatile. Sometimes it happens. When the prices are moving very high and the retail chains, they don't, their systems don't incorporate these changes. I'll give you example of cumin, since you are also come from that area. 2 years back, the cumin rate has gone up from 200 rupees to 600 rupees in just 3 to 4 months time. When the prices are moving up, the retailers, kiranas, they keep buying from the retail chain, considering that from the open market, the cumin rates is higher compared to the retail chain, because the selling price is not as per the market rate of almost all the retail chain. Yeah. So what happened when the prices moved up to 600, and from that started coming down, that retailers, they stop buying that. And almost all the retailers, they were sitting with a very huge inventory cost.
Yeah, so you're rightly mentioning there is huge price volatility comes into the picture, and if you don't have right forecast, I think bell has rang for us to close, but I would quickly ask one question to each panelist. What do you think is the most important one capability which Indian enterprise, whether it is startup or something, or organization should build to take care of this volatility and harness the demand-led growth? So starting from Dilip sir, each one can answer this question, I think, quickly. One important capabilities we should focus to build on that.
The most important is the forecast, I would say. Beyond that, nothing can happen. And another thing we face, another problem we face in the industry, in the sense, lot of policy intervention comes once in a while. In case Reliance, this thing, if you want to say, at any point of time, you are holding 3 months of packing material.
So basically what you are saying is one is right forecasting and right policies to drive this.
Absolutely.
Great.
Yeah.
Srinivas.
I think from a quick commerce perspective, any of the D2C brand or the enterprises, they need to ensure that the visibility is there on the platform. For that, you need to again ensure the availability factor, right? So you need to be closer to the system. I think like you mentioned for yourself, that nano micro fulfillment centers are there. So though it's a very much phrase, the perishability is much more higher, it needs to be replenished on a day-to-day basis 2 times, multiple times. So the stock needs to be there. So for that, you need to work backward. So this is what my
So working backward, and brands need to be closer to the customer, if I understand.
Absolutely.
Great. So
Absolutely.
Rivasha, from your point.
So brands coming closer to the customer, I'll build on to that. And I would say you have to build hyper-local consumer-centered data model, which are constantly validated from the pulse of the field. whichever market you are getting into, your urban markets are easier to understand. And at the expense of sounding the devil's advocate, your rural markets are not something that you understand. So you have to get experts on board. You have to validate that data. And, congratulations to Ayekart team, because they are trying to build that network of organizations, of blending organizations that understand these markets into the decision-making and data-driving systems that will then feed into your logistics planning.
Basically, consumer-centric data models should be there, which is important on that. Great.
Yes, but which are
Build that.
validated by people who are
Which
literally
should
working.
be validated also. Great. Yeah, Manish.
She made my job easy. I'll just extend that to the entire product design life cycle. Typically, like if innovation takes 9 to 18 months, how do you crash that to few weeks? And that is only possible if you have AI models for product design, your packaging testing in the entire supply chain. But it is easier said than done because 2-3 challenges. One, there are plenty of data to model, but the data is not clean because they are generated over a different time using different methodologies. Also, large part of the data is not open source. It is with the larger companies who are now working with, say, OpenAI or IBM to develop this model. I think the challenge is how do you develop this model and democratize with whatever data that are available. Yeah?
Okay, so open source data models will help to go long way to solve this. Yeah, Ashok.
Yeah, Desik is an emerging brand and focus is more on the healthy foods. So I prefer to have a strong backward integrations where I like to have farmers, FPOs or supplier origins.
So a strong backward integration is what you think should be developed. So I think all are like very, very important and pertinent suggestion. The company should look and build the demand-led growth model, whether they are right data models, data set, right forecasting, right backward integration, or being closer to customer, or to understand the customer, how consumers behave, and bring those volatilities. So I think, thank you everyone. This was very insightful and great discussion. And I'm sure that new age brand like ours, and all the players who are there in the supply chain will be focused and focused to get more insights and unlocking this entire demand-led growth, which right now we are witnessing in Indian context. So thanks everyone, and big clap for all the panelists.
Now I would like to request our moderator and panelists to stay back on stage with us. First of all, thank you so much to Mr. Dilip Mohanty, Executive Vice President, Reliance Retail, for the presentation. Can we have a huge round of applause, everyone out here? And thank you so much, our speakers and our moderator, for those thoughtful insights in the discussion. To honor our speakers and our moderator, I would like to invite Mr. Kunjal Thakkar, co-founder and CFO Ayekart, for the felicitation. Can we have a huge round of applause, everyone out here? Requesting for a group picture. Thank you so much, our dignitaries, for being with us onto the stage. Thank you.